The first time my son called me sir, it didn't make me proud. It made something in my chest go quiet. Not the kind of quiet you get when the house settles at night, but the kind that feels like something just stepped back and closed a door. He said it so naturally. Yes, sir, like it belonged there, like that's what I had always wanted. I spent most of my life believing that respect was the highest form of love. If your children stood straight, spoke clearly, and followed rules, then you had done your job right. Softness, in my mind, led to weakness. Discipline built men. That's how I raised them. Mark, my oldest, was 8 the first time I made him shake my hand after a mistake instead of hugging him. Own it, I told him. Look me in the eye. He did. He didn't cry, at least not in front of me. I remember feeling proud of that. My daughter Lisa used to come into the kitchen when she was little, talking fast about her day. Stories that didn't go anywhere, feelings that changed every few minutes. I would stop her halfway through. Slow down. Get to the point. After a while, she stopped coming in. I told myself that was maturity. There were rules in my house. Shoes lined up by the door, dinner at 6, no talking back, no raised voices. If something broke, we fixed it. If something went wrong, we corrected it. We didn't sit around discussing feelings. That wasn't how I was raised, and I believed that was the right way to keep a family strong. Years passed. They grew up, moved out, built their own lives. From the outside, everything looked right. No trouble, no drama, no rebellion stories, just quiet, well-behaved children who turned into quiet, well-behaved adults. I told people I was lucky, and I believed it. A few months ago, Mark came by the house. He didn't stay long. He never really does. We sat at the same table they grew up at. I asked him about work, and he answered. Short, clear, polite, like a report. There were pauses between sentences. Not uncomfortable, just empty. At one point, I asked him about his son, my grandson. Is he still playing baseball? Mark nodded. Yes, sir, every Saturday. That word landed heavier than it should have. Sir. Not yeah, not yeah, Dad. Just sir. I didn't react. I just nodded and kept the conversation going. But something felt off. It wasn't tension, and it wasn't distance in the usual sense. He was sitting right in front of me, answering everything I asked, doing everything right. And still, it felt like I was talking to someone who was waiting for permission to leave. After a while, he stood up and said he had to go. I walked him to the door the same way I used to when he was a kid. He put on his jacket, checked his phone, then looked at me and gave a small nod. I'll call you later, sir. There it was again. Clean, polite, perfect. I told him to drive safe and watched him walk to his car. I didn't call him back or stop him. I just stood there in the doorway longer than I needed to. The house felt the same after he left. Nothing had changed. The chair was still in place, the clock still ticking. But that word stayed with me. It moved around in my head in a way I couldn't quite settle. I kept thinking about all the years I spent making sure my children spoke to me the right way, showed respect, followed structure. And now, hearing it, it didn't feel like respect. Not the kind I thought I was building. It felt like distance. Like there had always been a line between us, and I was only just now starting to see it. I didn't sleep much that night. Just lay there thinking about that word. Sir. I kept turning it over in my head like it might mean something different if I looked at it long enough. But it didn't. It meant exactly what it sounded like. Distance. The next morning, I sat in my chair longer than usual. The house was quiet. It's always quiet now. But this time it felt different. Like I was finally hearing it instead of just living inside it. I started thinking about my children, not as kids, but as adults. How they talked to me, how they answered my questions, how careful they were with their words. They respected me. I never doubted that. But they didn't talk to me the way people talk to someone they feel close to. There was always a line, a carefulness, like they were measuring every sentence before they said it. I used to think that was good. Now I'm not so sure. Because respect is one thing, but love doesn't feel like that. Love feels easy, natural, like you can say the wrong thing and still be okay. I don't think my children ever felt that way around me. And that's when it hit me. I didn't raise them to come close to me. I raised them to stand at a distance and do the right thing. I was their authority, not their father. And that's a hard thing to admit when you spent your whole life believing you were doing it right. I sat there for a long time before I picked up the phone. My hand felt heavier than it should have. I stared at Mark's name on the screen. I thought about what I usually say. Everything okay? How's work? How's your son? Simple questions. Safe questions. Questions that don't go anywhere. I took a breath and set the phone back down. Then I picked it up again. This time, I didn't rehearse anything. I just called. He answered on the third ring. Hey, Dad. Not sir, just Dad. It caught me off guard. I didn't expect that. I sat there for a second too long before I spoke. Hi, Mark. My voice sounded different to me. Slower, less certain. I was thinking about you. Everything all right? That's how he talks to me. Careful. Measured. Yeah, I said. Everything's fine. I just wanted to call. I almost said what I usually say. I almost asked him about work, but I didn't. Instead, I said something I've never said to him before. I wasn't always easy to talk to, was I? Longer than usual. I could hear him breathing on the other end. Then he said, No, not really. Not disrespectful, just honest. And somehow, that honesty didn't hurt the way it should have. It felt real. I nodded, even though he couldn't see it. I know, I said. I've been thinking about that. This one felt different. Not empty, just uncertain. What made you say that? He asked. I leaned back in my chair, looked out the window. I didn't have a perfect answer. I think I spent a lot of time making sure you did things right, I said. But maybe not enough time just being with you. He didn't answer right away, and for a second I thought maybe I'd said too much. But then he spoke. I always knew you cared, he said. It just didn't always feel like I could come to you. That one stayed with me. Didn't feel like I could come to you. Not anger, not blame, just truth. Simple, clear, hard to hear. I understand, I said quietly. And I meant it. For the first time, I think I really did. There was another long pause after that, but it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt like something had shifted. Not fixed, just different. Before he hung up, he said, I've got to get back to work. All right, I said. Take care of yourself. Yeah, he said. You too, Dad. And just like that, he was gone. I sat there holding the phone for a while after the call ended. Didn't move. Didn't think about what to say next. Just listened to the quiet again. But this time, it didn't feel as heavy. It felt open, like something small had cracked. Not enough to fix everything, but enough to let a little bit of air in. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. You can raise children to respect you, or you can raise them to come back to you. But those are not the same thing. Respect will make them stand straight, but only warmth will make them sit down beside you and stay a while. I thought I was building a strong family. In a way, I did. But I focused so much on control, on doing things right, that I forgot something simple. They needed to feel safe with me, not just behave properly around me. So if you're listening to this, take it from me. Slow down a little. Listen more than you correct. Speak a little softer than you think you should. Because one day, the conversations you're having now will be the only thing left. And it matters whether your children feel like they're talking to an authority or to someone who truly knows them. In the end, they won't remember how perfect you were. They'll remember how you made them feel.